Wrongly accused. Yeah, it's that guy. He says he's wrongly accused. He demands his job back. He gets his job back. Can you believe it? This guy who wrongly accused people and ruined their lives, allegedly. Well, stick around till the end of the Bad Apple Report today. There's a lot about the wrongly accused.
Team now. A Commerce police officer who was fired for repeatedly charging innocent people with DUI is now fighting to get his job back.
Cody Wood filed his appeal with the city late last month. He's been put back on paid leave per city policy until his case is resolved. Fox 5 team reporter Randy Travis says all of this comes as more drivers are getting their charges dismissed. Randy?
That's right, Courtney and Russ, we first broke this story last month. A single cop in one North Georgia town wrongly accusing drivers of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol and doing it over and over again.
My name is Micaiah Huff, and I was not driving impaired.
She was pulled over for following too close.
I'm Casey Heaps, and I was not driving impaired.
All he had was a broken tag light. But on this day, they walked out of Commerce Municipal Court to join all of these people, plus at least a dozen more, who waited months to see a far more serious crime finally dismissed.
With you not being able to maintain lane, I feel you are impaired. So I am going to arrest you.
Officer Cody Wood used a field sobriety test as his main probable cause that the driver he stopped was under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
He's going to be placed under arrest for driving under the influence of drugs.
A Fox 5 team analysis of his arrests found that he took people to jail despite no evidence of drugs or alcohol in the car. People who insisted they were sober. Blood tests ultimately cleared some. Others were also dismissed, but not before they spent hundreds of dollars on bail bondsmen and attorneys.
He's very irritating and frustrating.
It was not a good experience. The jail cell or the holding cell smelled like feces.
Last month, the city fired Officer Wood, saying some of his arrests were, quote, made in error. No one else has been disciplined. The investigation is not over. But Officer Wood today is back on the force, on paid leave, because he's appealing his termination. That's right. He wants his job back. In a letter to the city, Wood's attorney called the firing illegal and asked for an immediate reinstatement to his former position with pay. Neither Wood nor his attorney would respond to our requests for an interview.
You have a minimum fine of $245.
Wood made twice as many DUI arrests last year as the rest of the department combined. Some of those are still working their way through the courts in 2024. People like Micaiah Huff and Casey Heaps, happy their case was dismissed, but disappointed they could not confront their accuser.
He treated me like a dog. I wouldn't even treat a dog like that.
I make most of the money in my household, and I thought I was going to lose the whole house. My dad and my brother would be homeless. I thought I was going to lose everything.
According to Post records, this was Officer Wood's first job in law enforcement. He started with Commerce Police in June of 2022.
Wow, so he's been fired. Is there any chance anybody else could be disciplined?
You got to wonder. I mean, there's certainly a lot of other police officers involved in those arrests. You could see them in the body cams, including some supervisors. So that's our question is, why didn't anybody catch some of these cases that clearly didn't have a lot of probable cause to go with it in the first place?
Yeah, as we heard those victims say, the stakes are high when there are false accusations.
A lot of money spent, and the charges are dropped, yes.
It really affects people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Randy, thanks.
Inmates recognize that jailers are very cruel, and thusly their money missing from the commissary account, they're not going to report it to anybody. And however long this went on, you know, this particular case that we're seeing here, this story where $187,000 was missing from the commissary fund. Oh, well, I submit that it's pervasive. I'm sure it's in every prison, everywhere around the country. People that put on the uniform, jailers, officers, they're depraved.
Auditor Cindy Bird's office released her report on the Seminole County Sheriff's Office today, and she uncovered missing money and sloppy bookkeeping. Almost $200,000 disappeared from a commissary fund for inmates between 2016 and 2022. Family and friends of inmates could put money in the kiosk so they could buy commissary food and toiletries. According to Bird's report, the office manager admitted she was the only person with a key to the commissary kiosk. Megan Burgess was the office manager at the time. The auditor says Burgess was let go during the audit when more than $187,000 was found to be missing from the kiosk. This part of the case has been turned over to federal law enforcement since Burgess is a member of the Seminole Nation. Bird says the Seminole County Deputy Fund also was mismanaged without any documentation of how more than $88,000 was spent. The few items that were documented including things like gift cards, a television, ice chest, fishing tackle. Sheriff Shannon Smith was in office during the years of this audit covered. He resigned last summer when questions about the deputy fund came to light. Oklahoma.
Well, here's our top story. The FBI has raided a prison, and it's not looking good for the warden. Well, this warden has been ousted. But wait till you hear about the warden before him. It's unconscionable when you hear the abuse that goes on in this particular prison, and I'm going to guess every prison. Okay? So a lot of people will say, well, they deserved it and they're getting what they deserved. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, folks. Warden ousted from federal women's prison plagued by sex abuse. The warden of a federal women's prison in Northern California that has long been plagued by rampant sex abuse was ousted from his job after a raid on the facility by FBI agents. The federal government said in a court filing on Monday that it had removed the acting warden, Arthur Dulgov, oh lordy, as well as the associate warden and two other top leaders at the Federal Correctional Institute in Dublin. The Federal Bureau of Prisons said it had installed new leaders to overhaul the facility in Dublin, California, about 40 miles east of San Francisco. Oh lordy, those new leaders are probably better than those last leaders. Okay, the scandal has resulted in an avalanche of litigation and allegations that sexual abuse has continued despite past leadership shakeups. You mean there was past leadership shakeups and then current leadership shakeups? Well, good thing they got new leaders in there. A spokesman for the Bureau of Prisons in a statement said the firings and the appointments of new leaders were meant to create a positive change in culture. Ooh, all right, everybody sing along. At the minimum security prison, Nancy McKinney, a longtime Nancy T. McKinney, a longtime Bureau of Prisons official, was installed at as the interim warden. Oh, lordy, guys. She's a longtime Bureau, and you know what that means. She's really good at absconding. Okay, the changes came hours after FBI agents raided the prison, carried away documents and computers, and sought to interview prison employees, according to the Associate Press. Mr. Dulgov, oh, what a Dulgov, that's the warden, served as acting warden of the Dublin prison for less than 3 months. Oh, lordy. Uh-oh. So 9 months from now, there's going to be a bunch of little Dulgovs running around the prison. Whoa, just kidding. Just a joke. Okay. All right. The reasons for the raid have not been specified. Attorneys representing inmates at the facility claimed in a court filing last month that Mr. Dulgov and his staff retaliated against an inmate who had testified against prison officials by arranging for her to transfer to another institution, a move that violated her court order. Well, it's not only that. That's why these folks, even in the last story, they can't speak up about their commissary money missing or anything like that, because they'll put them over there in the cell with old Hannibal Lecter. You know what I mean? They just move them around and scare the crap out of them until they're, well, you know. Anyways, the transfer of the inmate sent a message to other incarcerated folks at the facility that may deter them from coming forward with complaints or testifying in further proceedings in this matter, wrote attorneys of the inmates. The prison, which inmates and correctional officers have referred to as the Rape Club, according to past filings, has drawn the scrutiny of federal lawmakers. Oh, it's drawn scrutiny, you guys. Could it be because it's called the Rape Club? The Senate Judiciary Committee has investigated the Bureau of Prisons broadly. So broadly. And the situation in Dublin specifically. Oh, it's about time, Dublin. Not the last time. This time is the time. The inquiry in the Senate followed an investigation of the prison by the Associated Press in 2022 that drew on internal documents, interviews, and recordings made by inmates and found a permissive and toxic culture at the Bay Area lockup, enabling years of sexual misconduct by predatory employees and cover-ups that have largely kept the abuse out of the public eye. Keep in mind, folks, this goes back decades and decades. Many of these old abusers in their 70s and 80s, they're croaked off already. You know, since the report, the problems and crimes inside the prison have drawn widespread attention, resulting in criminal charges and convictions. Oh, really? How many convictions? Widespread attention? How about widespread criminal charges and widespread convictions? No, that hasn't happened. Okay, among those now in prison, get this, you guys, for abusing inmates is Ray Garcia, a former warden who was sentenced last year to 70 months in prison for sexual abuse. Oh, the warden, what an idiot. What a stupid idiot. Well, that's why he's the warden. These types of jobs, people that are attracted to this type of work, same with cops, they're ghouls. They're abusers, in my opinion. And this is an opinion show. Rather than ensuring that female inmates at the Dublin prison were safe and secure, Garcia used his position as warden to sexually abuse 3 inmates over multiple years. Oh, think about that, you guys. This gross warden intimidated inmates and lied to cover up his crimes. He's a liar too, you mean? Oh, that guy. Michael E. Horowitz, the Department of Justice Inspector General, said in a statement after the sentencing. Last week, a coalition of civil rights groups filed new lawsuits on half dozen inmates in the Dublin prison. The new allegations add to others that have been made over the years. One plaintiff, a Native American woman identified by her initials FS, said that she was raped 1 to 3 times per week by a correctional officer and was sometimes held down by 2 other officers while she was being attacked. Folks, stop and think about that. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Here they come. 1 to 3 times a week. Why not every day? Why not 3 times a day? It doesn't matter. You're nothing to them. It just, the type of people that do this, these people still work in these prisons all over America. So if you know a jailer, you know somebody that does this. These officers made hateful comments, including saying that Native Americans are worth nothing but drinking alcohol and going to prison, according to a complaint. Other plaintiffs were harassed over their immigration status. According to the complaints, one woman who was undocumented was told that she would be deported if she didn't engage in sex acts with the correctional officers. According to complaints, others, according to new complaints, were compelled to perform sex acts in front of officers and have sex with other inmates. Unbelievable, you guys. This horrific abuse is continuing to happen right here in the Bay Area, even during and after officers have been convicted. Think about that again. While they're being convicted, word on the street, hey man, Sam's being convicted. Oh really? Come on, join in. Let's go over here. And they're doing that. They're that depraved. They do that. Okay, so Emily Shapiro, a member of the California Coalition for Women's Prisoners, which has filed lawsuits on behalf of inmates, said in the statement, that was her statement. Okay, there you have it, folks. We have extraordinarily bad people that put on uniforms that are in power, in charge of people. Many of these people that are behind bars were wrongly accused. Many of them are there because they belong there, but none of them deserve inhumane treatment. So, folks, that's your Bad Apple Report for the day. I hope you had a good time watching. I had a good time putting it together for you. And I'm going to put together another one for you for tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., right here at home on the range. Thanks again for watching, folks. Have a nice day.